how to get the perfect vocal level on every song for every genre. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, I'm Cole Caparoon. Thank you for stopping by for another video. This is one of the more elusive things when it comes to mixing a song and making sure that the mix translates everywhere. This is different for every genre, for every song, depending on what the production is like. So what I want to do is I want to jump into Pro Tools here and I want to show you a technique for how I listen for volume, for vocal volume. And then we're going to talk about the differences in genre and all the other stuff after that. So let's jump into Pro Tools here. This is a song that I produced and mixed and mastered for Clayton Shay called Losing It. The song is already out. I'll drop links down below for that. Let's just take a listen to a bit of the chorus real quick.
Now I'm losing it, going out of my mind. The screws keep losing it, trying to keep it together. There ain't no use in it. And now I'm climbing the walls, 'cause I had it all and I ruined it. Now I'm losing it.
Okay, now when I'm mixing this and I'm trying to achieve final levels, this is kind of a back and forth thing. I'm like EQing and compressing, checking levels. Tweaking the EQ and compressor, checking levels. Tweaking saturation, checking the levels. And so this is something that I do throughout the entire mix. But one of the things that really helps me is when I'm switching over to the Auratone 5Cs, and I'll put a link to those down below too. I cannot recommend these enough for this exact technique. So the move is to switch over to the Auratones and turn it down as quietly as I possibly can. However quietly I can turn it where I can still hear what's happening, and then that allows me to hear what's like poking out through the mix. Auratones are hands down the best at this. Yes, I've tested all the other Cube monitors. I like Auratones the best. But for the sake of this video, I'm assuming a good percentage of you don't have these, and I want to give you guys a way to do this on your own. And so I did this in my Magic is in the Mid-Range video. This is an EQ curve that basically mimics the Auratones. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to hover over these EQ points, and you can pause the video when these are here, and so that way you can mimic this EQ if you would like. And so just take these 4 bands, mimic it exactly like this, and that'll kind of get you in the ballpark. And so we can do the same thing with real monitors, whatever monitors that you have. So copy this EQ curve, but here's what we're gonna do. So here's what the song sounds like.
Now I'm losing it, going out.
And then if we put this EQ in,
trying to keep it together, there ain't no use in it. And now I'm climbing.
so that's more or less what it sounds like. Now, what I would like you to do as you're watching this, hopefully you're on headphones or you are on studio monitors or whatever, adjust the volume of me talking right now to be about the volume of someone in the room talking to you. What I'm going to try to do is convey this technique through this video. Hopefully this works. So adjust your monitors to about a regular talking volume. And then I'm going to start turning this down and we're going to take a look at this. Okay, when I'm doing this technique, here's what I'm doing, and then here's what I'm listening for. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna start turning this down.
Now I'm losing it, going out of my mind. The screws keep losing it, trying to keep it together. There ain't no use in it. And now I'm climbing the walls, 'cause I had it all and I ruined it. Now I'm losing it.
Now, if this isn't spot on, basically turn this down until you can barely hear it. But here's what we're gonna listen for. So in this situation, at this volume, what I'm listening for is what are the things poking out the loudest through the mix. So let's take a listen. So what I'm hearing in this mix is the vocal is the loudest thing that I hear. Now that high harmony towards the turn, that climb in the wall, this was an integral part of me figuring out how loud to place that vocal, because you can hear it equally as loud as the regular vocal. Now, the very next thing that I noticed that's quieter than the vocal is all of the percussion, the snare sounds, the kick sounds, and especially those reverse into like the snare sounds. So listen for that. And then the wood block, I hear the wood block as well. Now, we're going to talk about what the appropriate volume for stuff is in a second. But what this technique does is this ensures, with this EQ, or if you do this on a pair of Auratones, this ensures or gives you the best chance possible that no matter what system you listen to this on, in the car, playing off your cell phone, a Bluetooth speaker, the overhead at the grocery store, coming through the radio, this ensures that it's going to sound more or less the same everywhere, that the balance is not going to drastically change from one system to the next. And this is super important for mixed translation because possibly our biggest job as mixers is to make sure that the music we work on sounds good in every environment. This is super, super important. So now that we've got the technique down, how to listen for this, there's a couple other things that we need to touch on. And the first is genre, or what is the intent for the song. Because let's be honest, the correct vocal volume is completely subjective. There's no such thing as the correct in music that we work on. So how do you know that you're doing the right thing? Well, the first thing that I would say is listen. If you can get yourself a pair of Auratones, listen to music turned all the way down on Auratones that's similar to what you're working on. So that way you can really kind of wrap your head around what is appropriate for that genre. Now, that doesn't mean you have to copy this, but it's a good reference point. But let's cover some bullet point like basics here. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, generally speaking, the more the song is intended for radio, the more commercial the song is, the louder the vocal usually is. Now, this is for a couple reasons. One, the more top 40 a song is, the more important the vocal is usually, because people resonate with the vocal. They sing along with the vocal. It's usually the most important thing in a song, especially for top 40 music. And the second reason for this is because when something is being played on FM radio, FM stations have their own set of processing, their own compression, their own limiters, their own all kinds of stuff that all of the music they play gets passed through. And so making sure the vocal is on top of the mix is one of the best ways in making sure that when your song gets played on FM, that it has the best chance of still sounding good. If you've never experienced this before, and I know this is becoming less and less of a thing, but if you've never experienced your own mixes being played on FM, it's interesting, and every station processes differently. So they will mess up your mix. Just that's how it works. So aside from it being intended for radio or top 40, popular music, the next thing is kind of genres. And there's no right or wrong here, but generally speaking, the harder, like metal is usually the quieter vocals. Rock is like a little bit louder vocals. And then you get into like pop is pretty loud vocals, and top 40 pop is super loud vocals. All the country genres, the popular country genres are usually super loud vocals. And so it really depends. But I think the only way I can nail it down is based on what's the intent for the song. Is it intended to be a hit? And if it is, loud vocals on top of the mix. Now, this also plays into production of the song, because if the song is a very dense song with super big, thick guitars or crazy big, thick synthesizers going the whole time, those fight the vocal. And so you will need to adjust how on top of the mix the vocal is based on what is going on in a song. A song like this, there's not a whole lot going on. And so, there's a lot going on, but there's not like a big wall of guitars or anything. So I can put the vocal kind of down in the mix, same volume about as the kick drum and the snare sounds, and it still sounds good because there's plenty of space in this song for the vocal. So you have to judge your production on that as well. The more dense a production is, the louder the vocal has to be, or the more you have to carve up the instrumentation to make space for the vocal. Whichever way you want to handle that, or some combination of both. So again, there is no right or wrong, but just this technique is really what I want to get across. Get you a pair of Auratones, or use this EQ, copy those settings, use that EQ, and turn it all the way down. This is how you know that your mix is going to sound the same, or the levels are at least going to translate the same to every single system. This video is sponsored by Sweetwater. Hit the links below for a pair of Auratones, or for any other thing that you saw in this video, or everything else that I use on a daily basis. Those links go to Sweetwater. If you use any of those links to purchase anything you need, anytime you need any piece of gear, it really helps this channel out and helps me keep making videos just like this. So thank you for using those links anytime you need to purchase anything, and thank you to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video. If you have any questions on this, drop them in the comments down below. I really want to try to build a community more here where we're helping each other. So drop comments down below, drop questions down below, and let's all chime in. If you see questions down there and you think you have a good solution to the question, leave a reply. Let's all help each other out and try to make the best music that we possibly can. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.